You're earning $600,000 a year in New York City, and you've worked very hard to get there, and now you want to invest in a home that reflects that success. But in the Manhattan real estate market, what does that salary actually get you? In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into the real numbers. We'll calculate your true purchasing power, we'll look at the significant cash that you'll need to close, and I'll be showing you a couple of different options of dream homes that you may be choosing between. By the end of this, you will have a very clear picture of your options. So take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button, and let's run the numbers. First, let's anchor our budget in reality by looking at something that every co-op board will look at, and some condos as well, and that's the debt to income ratio. Now in New York City, particularly with co-ops, the boards set a lot of the financial criteria that you must meet to be able to purchase into the building. If you do not meet that criteria, you simply won't be able to purchase in that particular building. As a general rule of thumb, co-op boards like to see a DTI lower than 30%. Now lenders, mortgage lenders, will go higher than that, sometimes up to 36%. But co-op boards want to see a low DTI, and in fact, sometimes that number is down to 25%, depending on the building and the area of town. So we're going to choose 28%, sort of a medium DTI there, that you must meet to be able to buy in this building that you have found a dream home in. On a $600,000 salary, your gross monthly income is $50,000. 28% of that gives you a maximum monthly housing budget of $14,000. Now remember, that includes everything. So we're talking about not just the mortgage payment, but we're talking about the common charges or the maintenance payments that you will have when you purchase a co-op or a condo. So what does that translate to in terms of purchase price? Well, factoring in the current interest rates and the maintenance payments and all of that, a $14,000 monthly payment will allow you to have a budget of about $2 million for your purchase price. So that's our target price. But how much cash do you actually need to get there? Well, a $2 million price tag is exciting, and it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for you in Manhattan. But the most critical factor in any Manhattan deal is the cash needed to make it happen. And this is where, combined with the financial criteria of the boards, where many qualified buyers in other markets really get stuck when they're purchasing in Manhattan. The first big cost is your down payment, and you have to remember that in Manhattan, the boards of the building set the down payment, not your bank. So a board can require any kind of down payment. As a general rule, we say 20% for co-ops, 10% for condos, but co-ops could actually require 25% down, 30% down. So you have to really look at your budget and the cash on hand and make sure that the buildings you are shopping in will accept the kind of down payment that you can afford. So in this example, we'll go with the standard 20% down, and that's $400,000 that you'll need as a down payment. Next, of course, you'll have your closing costs. Now, some of the closing costs vary between condos and co-ops. For example, on a condo, one of the big expenses is the mortgage recording tax, which you do not have on co-ops because you're buying shares in a co-op. You're not buying the real property. But on both, you'll also have the mansion tax in New York City, which kicks in above $1 million, and for a $2 million purchase, that's going to be 1.25% of the purchase price. So in this example, once you factor in your attorney fees, because New York is an attorney state and you must have an attorney handle all of the real estate transactions, and your insurances and other costs, we're going to allow $60,000 for closing costs. And finally, the key to unlocking some of the best apartments is post-close liquidity. And that means that the co-ops and some condos, but definitely co-ops, usually want to see 1 to 2 years worth of mortgage and maintenance payments in the bank sitting there at the time of closing. Now, it's important to understand what you do with that money after closing is entirely your business. No one's going to come and check on your finances after this. But they do want to see that you're going to be a really stable financial shareholder, so they want to make sure that you have 1 to 2 years of mortgage and maintenance to access in case something was to happen. It proves that you're a financially stable buyer and will not put the building at risk. So when you take post-close liquidity into consideration and you add up all the other costs that we've been discussing, you probably need around $800,000 in cash to be able to close on a $2 million deal. That is often the barrier to entry in Manhattan's luxury market. Okay, that was a lot of heavy financial information, but if you're finding this information valuable and you want to continue receiving no-nonsense practical advice about purchasing in New York City, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and hit that notification button, because I am creating a series about salaries at all different levels and you won't want to miss any of that. Okay, let's go shopping. Now, on a $2 million budget, you're going to have a pretty big decision to make because it is going to unlock some good opportunities for you. Are you going to want something where you value the amount of space that you can get, something like on the Upper West Side, perhaps a Classic 6, which we'll talk about in a minute? Or do you want something more modern with 5-star amenities in maybe a trendier part of town? So let's take the first option, a charming pre-war building on the Upper West Side with possibly some river views or views of the park. You're most likely at the $2 million mark going to get something in the area of what we call a Classic 6 or a regular 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, when we talk about a Classic 6 in New York City, we actually mean an apartment that has 6 formal rooms. They usually include 2 formal bedrooms, a formal dining room, a formal living room, and then usually one other kind of space. Most often it's what was called the maid's room back in the pre-war era, so it is a small office space or perhaps a smaller bedroom. So you're really looking at an apartment that is a 2-bedroom, perhaps 2-bath, or that Classic 6, all of which are going to usually be quite spacious and offer that pre-war charm. This is a choice for the person who really values space, neighborhood charm, and that pre-war feel. You'll definitely get more space for your money, and usually co-ops are a more economical choice and larger than condos. But of course, you'll have to navigate all of the co-op buying process, which we've covered in other videos before. I encourage you to take a look at those. You'll have your co-op application. You will have your board interview. It's quite a process to go through, but co-ops are bought and sold every day in this city, and they make up about 85% of the entire inventory. So if you're looking for this kind of apartment, the co-op is the way to go, and you can certainly get maybe that Classic 6 with beautiful views and that pre-war charm. Now, the other option is to go with a luxury condo building downtown. That same $2 million may buy you something a little bit smaller. It may be a 1-bedroom, maybe a 1-bedroom plus an office, or verging on a 2-bedroom, but it'll be in a completely different neighborhood like Chelsea or the Flatiron District, maybe in the East Village. Oftentimes these are newer construction. They're going to come with things like floor-to-ceiling windows, sometimes very dramatic views, 24-hour doorman, and roof decks, and sometimes gyms that rival some of the big names like Equinox. This is the choice for someone who values world-class amenities, convenience, and a more vibrant lifestyle as opposed to a quieter neighborhood. The approval process on a condo is generally easier than on a co-op, and certainly you would have the flexibility to rent out the unit and use it as an investment property in the future. However, as I mentioned before, condos do tend to be about 15% more expensive and may have some higher closing costs, but again, if you are the person looking for convenience, vibrant lifestyle, and something a little bit more modern in feel, this is definitely the option for you. So as you can see, a $600,000 salary does open up a lot of opportunities and doors in Manhattan, but that choice between that Classic 6 on the Upper West Side or the downtown luxury condo is strictly personal and based on your financial and personal goals. Now, to help you with this, I've created a Manhattan buyer's cheat sheet. It summarizes some of this information and gives you some important tips on buying in Manhattan. You can download that completely for free at the link in the description below. It is the perfect step to take as you begin your process to buy in Manhattan. And of course, when you're ready to build a personalized strategy and have an expert to guide you through the entire process, all of my contact information is below as well. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.